Good morning. He's mine. Welcome to the University Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. My name is Beatriz Reyes Foster, and I will be your service leader today. Greetings to everyone on Facebook and YouTube and Zoom. Special welcome to any visitors, whether virtual or in person. Please take a moment to silence your devices wherever you are. For all of our health and safety, we ask that everyone wear a mask, except when speaking at the podium or the microphone. We ask that you socially distance and to position an empty chair between individuals or family household groups in the sanctuary during service. Now is our time for committee moments. I ask any committee representatives with information to share to join us at the microphone. Bye, Miles.
It's wonderful to have such a great fan club, isn't it? Yeah. Good morning. I'm Martha Kirby, the current board president, and I want to invite all members and anyone else that wants to hear more about the business of this congregation to stay after service for our annual meeting. We'll start hopefully 10 minutes after service ends, so that's a little bit flexible, but we'll need a little time to set up and get ready, and we will try to make it as informative and brief as possible, but there's a lot to do, so please stay. Online too, we'll be including you in the meeting. Thank you.
Wow, lots of people I haven't seen for a while. Joey Cole, outgoing hospitality chair. No. One of the things I wanted to say, last week I got a big round of applause and everybody was so nice, but the person who should be getting the round of applause is Marilyn London, and she is not here today. So I charge each of you, the next time you see Marilyn, to go up and tell her what an incredible job she did as hospitality chair, co-chair with me, because she's held it together these last couple of months because I have not been very present. So she's really done 90% of the work, and I really want her to get that appreciation, please. That said, I welcome Laurie, who was who set everything up in the kitchen. If you want to volunteer now, Laurie knows where the list is, and she can put your name down. Please, we really need people who will both help us to set up in the morning and also help us to clean up afterwards. It's not a major, big job production. There's always people to help. But we really need people to sign up for that. So I'm happy to be turning it over, but I want to thank you all for everything you've done.
Thank you.
John Mowbray, I'm not on the hospitality committee, but Amy and I brought in some rosemary that's sitting out there. So feel free to take it if you want some rosemary.
Please take it.
Yeah. But I am on the Facilities and Grounds Committee, and just want to let everybody know that our next workday is this coming Saturday from about 9 to 12. So if you have a special skill or something, see something you want to fix around the church or outside, please join us. We're going to have coffee and donuts again this time? Or? Okay, somebody will bring coffee and donuts. But again, this coming Saturday, 9 to 12. Thank you.
Okay, so help me summon Judith Steinfarrell, please. Judith! We need you. She's coming. So Judith Steinfarrell is our Director of Religious Education. So she's busy with our children right now, but I do want to let you know that she's recently completed don't say aw. Credentialing program through the UUA. So it was a long process. I'm not crying, I'm just nervous. And so congratulate her, please.
Carrie. Tell us how many hours.
Well, I started it in 2017, but I took off during the pandemic. It's not an awe, it's a oh thing.
We just feel really fortunate to have you. You put so much thought and time into the work you do for this congregation and the kids and the families. So thank you. This is so deserved. I'll carry this to your desk.
All right, thank you all.
It's a coffee basket.
Nice.
I'm just saying, if you want to keep that in the office for us, I'd appreciate that too.
Oh, I see now, it's about.
It's shared ministry, Judith. It's shared ministry. Especially if there's chocolate or coffee. So I'm up here with two different hats. The first hat is on behalf of Pastoral Care. We want you to know that there is an email address for Pastoral Care, which I forgot to write down, but it is in the notable news. I believe it is simply pastoralcare@uuuf.org or universityuus.org, whichever floats your boat. That email address does not come to me, though. It goes to our coordinator, Lorraine, to handle pastoral care concerns. If there is something that I need to be aware of, she does email it to me. Still use my email address if you're wanting to just get in touch with me, and that's minister@. My other hat, General Assembly is coming up, and it is a long ways away over in Portland, Oregon, and I know some of us do not want to travel that far. So I will be hosting a General Assembly watch party here at the church. There will be a schedule posted soon. I will clue you in that you will want to be here for the service of the living tradition. Was that what you were going to announce? Maybe. She's getting her practice for the service of the living tradition, where they honor ministers who have gone through different transitions, as well as religious educators who have become credentialed. And so our own Judith Stein-Farrell will be honored during that. So come and we'll have a big party here, and we'll shoot her videos of us cheering for her and all that. And Ibram X. Kendi will be our WARE lecturer this year. So you want to be here for that. The other thing, I will be on vacation starting next Sunday until the following Monday. There'll be a vacation response on the email if you write to me, but I will respond to emails when I return. I am not going to look at them while I'm on vacation. But if there's an emergency, please contact, depending on the emergency, either Trista, and the administrator, or Martha as president, or Judith, and they will filter to me if it is a real emergency, and I will know, and I will deal with it that way. But I hope to come back fully rested and engaged and ready to start the summer. So, see you then.
The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. popularized the term beloved community. A beloved community happens when people of diverse racial, ethnic, educational, class, gender, ability, sexual orientation, backgrounds, and identities come together in an interdependent relationship of love, mutual respect, and care that seeks to realize justice within the community and in the broader world. It is a community that is not colorblind or post-racial, but rather understands racism and other forms of systemic oppression. In recent years, some UUs have begun calling for the making of a new 8th principle to accompany the other 7. Today we ask ourselves, what does it mean to live in beloved community? Our opening music is Spirit of Life.
Good morning, everyone. We'll be performing, we'll be leading you in Spirit of Life. It's number 1, 2, 3 in your Grace Songbook. Please feel free to sing along and rise in body or spirit. Thank you. Rise in body or spirit as your level of comfort allows.
Our chalice lighter today is Ethan. He uses he, him pronouns. He is 6 years old. And his joy is that he is going to watercolor. In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to seek, sustain, and to share. And together we make our affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church. Service is its gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek truth and love, and to help one another. At this time, let us take a moment to welcome any guests that we have in our congregation today. Recently, maybe not so recently anymore, we called the Reverend Tracie Barrett to accept a position as part-time minister at UUF, adding to our late-led tradition the skills and experiences of a Unitarian Universalist ministry. As always, our services, topics, and speakers vary widely from one service to another. And so we ask that you come back a few times before you make up your mind about us. I usually say come back at least 3 times. And that is our tradition in this particular congregation. So welcome all guests, and I hope to see you again. Now is the time for joys and concerns, which impact us deeply, inspire us, or raise our spirits. We invite those who wish to speak to come up to the microphone and remove your mask when speaking. If anyone has a joy or concern that they'd like to share and they would prefer for us to bring the mic to you, please let us know after everyone online has gone.
Hello, I'm Peter Carlson. Back in the 1970s, I was inspired by President Carter regarding solar panels on the roof. Many years ago, my wife and I put solar panels on half our roof because there was a tree in the way. But at the end of this last week, we had the whole south-facing roof covered with solar panels. So I'm very delighted with that. We're not going to make any money on it, but as far as I'm concerned, it's making reparations for all the pollutants I've dumped in the atmosphere over the course of my lifetime. But it's a great joy for me to do that.
I move to stand before you because there's been another domestic terrorism event in Buffalo. 10 people dead, I believe it is. 13 in total when you count wounded. I just don't want us to become numb to this. It's very easy to do so. But in addition to the terrible concept that it was racially motivated, I keep going back to the proliferation of firearms in this country that just continues unabated. I don't have a solution. I'd just like you to keep those people in your hearts, those that lost their lives to such a terrible tragedy.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Karen, and I have a double joy and concern. So this joy is that we get the amazing gift of living on a lake and seeing the sunrise every morning, so beautiful over the water. And the concern is that last night someone unfortunately fell in the water who had been drinking way too much, and we're not sure. There was a sheriff actually who asked to use our dock with such, and I just want to know this morning that everything was fine, but I had to go to bed. So just lake life is a double-edged sword, so just keep that in your heart.
Hello, Chloe Hatfield. I have two joys. My first, two joys. First off, I'm hosting my first sewing party today after I go and get a pedicure with my mom, which will be a very, very fun event. And this is my first one of what I'm hoping to be a bi-weekly thing, but it's with friends of mine that I have accrued at the Science Center, and it's really fun, and I'm really happy to have them coming over to my house and sharing in the camaraderie of sewing. The other joy is that on the 1st of June, I'm getting my tonsils removed. I had an adenoidectomy April of 2021, and they're like, you don't need to take out the tonsils, they're fine, they're not bothering you. Well, they started to bother me this year. And they're like, well, why didn't they take them out? I'm like, you ask me, you tell me, because I don't know. They should have gone together, but it's finally getting taken care of, and hopefully all sinus-related, throat-related illnesses will go away. I hope so, so I can get back to singing. Because I've actually found somebody who was a professional opera singer who was willing to take me under their wing, and I really hope to get back into doing opera.
Lindsay Stroh. My joy today is that my oldest grandson, Brian Stroh, and his wife Marie are moving from Seattle to St. Cloud, Florida. So I will get to see my grandson and his wife much more often, which is wonderful. Also, a joy for all of us, tonight there's going to be a lunar eclipse that we should be able to see right here in Florida. So, beautiful thing to see.
Hi, Chloe McElroy. I have a big joy that my sister is here this weekend. She did not make it to church because she just decided to sleep in. But the reason for that is because we're celebrating her 34th birthday this weekend. And she's actually flying to... I don't remember where she's flying to see her brother-in-law and her husband's brother for his 30th birthday on her actual birthday. So all this weekend we've been celebrating her. So I just wanted to share that I'm excited that she's here because I adore her and she's my best friend. So it was really nice to be able to celebrate with her this weekend. And after church, I'm gonna book it out of here after the annual meeting so we can go get Ethiopian food and go to Dave & Buster's.
Good morning, Melanie Irie. My 16-year-old has a rabbit that, because of school and extracurricular activities, is no longer able to take care of. His name is Brighton. He's all of 2 pounds. He's very fluffy. He looks bigger, but he's all fur, long hair. So I have some flyers if anybody is interested. He comes with accessories like a cage, food, bowls, other things that I don't know about. There is a phone number on here. That is to Josh's phone. Josh has been his only caretaker, so he can answer all of your questions. If you ask me, I'm going to tell you to ask Josh. So if anybody is interested, please come see me after the meeting or the annual meeting. I'll be here for that too. Thank you.
Hey guys, I'm Derek. I usually don't talk much. Work hard, but don't talk much. But I guess I have a joy/concern. I'm retiring after 41 years of being in IT, kind of on the front edge of technology stuff. And the concern, how do I not become obsolete? You know, and I'm like this front edge for so long. Well, one of the things, I'm going to volunteer at the church, right? So I'm going to be on the board. So we'll see where that takes us, right? But and inspiration comes in the wildest, weirdest ways, right? So I'm sitting there eating my bagel and drinking coffee this morning. And I watched The Twilight Zone. I don't know if you guys remember late 50s, early 60s Twilight Zone, Rod Serling. And the episode is The Obsolete Man, right? and it's all about the future state. Now it's different, but the future state has decided when you're not valuable anymore. And Burgess Meredith is a librarian. And he's been condemned for execution because, of course, in this future state, right, librarians and knowledge is not important, right? Oh, can you imagine that? But so he gets to, yeah, exactly, right? So he gets to choose his own method of dying, execution, and he decides to be blown up in public, right, in front of a TV audience, so that, he could kind of share just how stupid this whole thing is. Anyway, it ends, and of course, Rod Serling does his sort of synopsis thing at the end, and I thought this was really cool, so I stopped, I rewound it, and I wrote it down, right? So anyway, he says, any state, any entity, any ideology that fails to recognize the worth, the dignity, the rights of man, that state is obsolete. A case to be filed under M for mankind in the Twilight Zone. I thought that was so appropriate, right? So thank you.
That was awesome. My name is Leanne Bongiorno. I'm Italian. My last name means good day.
Can you come closer to the mic?
Sure, is that better? Okay. I'm a profound introvert, determined to change. And the thing that spurred that change was a medical crisis this past October. And I am looking to expand my horizons. I'm extremely grateful for finally walking in these doors, because I've passed this church every day for almost 12 years. So thank you for being here. Thank you for everybody who opens up. What a great model. And we'll see what happens.
I am going to cry. My eldest son, who grew up in this church, is just really struggling with major depressive disorder. Whatever it is that you do, your thoughts, your energy, your magical juju, I just appreciate you sent it his way, because he's struggling to get through it right now. Sorry to end it on a downer note. So sorry.
Martha, do we have any online joys and concerns to share?
Thank you for reminding me. I got so distracted by the wonderful sharing that occurs here. A joy and concern from Roberta. They got a nail in their tire on the way to church, so now they are online instead of in person. So welcome, we're glad you're still with us. And that's it so far.
Very good. Judith, do you have a joy or concern, or are you just waiting for RE time? Okay. Let's take a brief moment of silence to honor the joys and concerns that remain unspoken. And now, our Director of Religious Education, Judith Stein-Farrell, will be leading us in Time for All Ages.
Thank you. All right. I was telling someone today that our lessons in this congregation are both explicit and implicit. Today we're going to do an exercise that you may have watched on ABC called What Would You Do? Except that you can choose whether to express or someone else can raise their hand to express what they would do or not, or we can just sit with the answers. In this bucket, I have statements. They're from people of all ages and stages. The orange ones, just so you know, when you reach in, are specifically from a perspective of children and youth, okay? I'm going to take a few volunteers. We won't do all of them. Okay, hold on. Okay, I see. Wait, let me see who's got their hands up now. I'm going to take a couple volunteers. What I'd like you to do is read the complete statement out loud, and then just sit with it for a moment. And then I'm going to come through. I'm going to put my mask back on when I'm walking through with the mic. Okay, I'm going to walk through with the mic and the mic in the bucket. And y'all can choose to answer, or if there's someone who has a response to the situation. I saw you, Derek. Okay, let me put this down. Steps in the process here. And I forgot, I'm sorry, Patrick, do you have time to adjust the view? All right, I'm gonna start this way with the retired guy. Retiring.
Do I read it?
Yeah, read it to yourself first so you know what you're looking at.
What should I do? I turn on the radio, and the interview is with the author Ibram X. Kendi about his book, So You Want to Be an Anti-Racist. I could change the station.
Thoughts? Thoughts? Do you want to add to that, or your considerations? Yeah.
No, there's a pretty good chance if I saw that interview, I'd probably be listening to NPR, right?
Good point.
I probably wouldn't change the channel, you know.
All right. Good. I believe. Okay, I see Chloe and Lindsay. Who's first? Lindsay.
This is my problem. I am 13 years old. I ride the bus home after school because my folks work late. My teacher says we have to email our homework assignment. I don't have internet at home.
Thoughts?
That child needs a safe way to let the teacher know they don't have internet at home. Not in front of peers, a really safe way to share that.
Good choice.
Oh. This is hard. My religion does not believe in celebrating birthdays, but we keep having birthday cake in the classroom at school.
Who was next? Did you want to say anything else?
I would have to repeat what Amy said, is that to find a safe way to tell the teacher, hey, I can't participate in this because of my beliefs. And hopefully the teacher understands.
I would expect the hope is that the principal or administration would be more equitable and honor that belief that we don't have to do it with a birthday cake to make one child be isolated just because. Yeah.
Yeah, it's something to consider. Right?
What an alternative might be for one person? Why take away the celebration for your kids having birthdays, but could you add a celebration for what does yours?
Could you celebrate Could you just have cake? Just to have cake? Yeah. Maybe, probably not. Sorry? Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Who over here? Lori? Oh, Paula and Lori, which, oh. Was it Lori or was it? No? Okay, and then we'll take. I fantasized. I was hoping to hear what Lori had to say, and then Paula. Paula, you want to take one while we're waiting? Okay.
Am I weird to you? I'm a dad with a baby at church, and I need to change their diaper. There's no changing table in the men's room.
Someone responded, go to the ladies' room. John said, go to your car. Is that fair?
No.
You've got a response? Is it a polite response?
I'm going to say this baby is a girl, and if a woman starts to come into the bathroom, hey, there's already a woman in here, wait.
Not at all.
I'm going to say you should ask for a changing table to be put in the men's room.
I'm running back to, okay, go ahead.
I have a changing table in my shed at home.
In your where? Shed. In your shed. But you're here. Oh, there we go.
I was just going to second what Joey said about, asking for the changing table to be put into both restrooms, or even make one accessible, in a shared community space.
So while these questions, that one really does pertain here, they're not necessarily issues that happen here. I'm going to let Paula, and then I'm going to wind it up. Sorry, Joey, are you okay with that? Okay.
This is my problem. I'm 10 years old. My mom only speaks Mandarin. At a parent-teacher conference, she needs me to translate what the teacher needs her to know about projects coming up. What do you do? You translate for your parent. I've seen lots of immigrant children translating for their parents who don't speak English. It's the family, part of the family challenge of being immigrants.
Agreed. It's part of the family challenge of being immigrants. But does it make it not important?
Interpreter.
Joey suggested that the school should be able to provide a translator. Lori?
I think that's kind of difficult. If they can try, but my mother said that she was my grandmother's translator, and the teacher has to be sensitive that they realize they have to come with the child.
I feel like I'm getting in the weeds, but when I worked at Central Florida Regional, we had a service for this purpose, and it's by relay, phone relay. The schools should look at being able to dial in and have, choose their language that they need and be put on speakerphone. I mean, we have technology for this.
So the point of this exercise today is about acknowledging that there are issues going on in the world that most of us in this room don't have a problem with. At Triple U, someone speaks up and says, "There's not a changing table in the men's room, help." And Larry says, "I've got the changing table in my shed, I'll bring it in." Someone says, "I need a translator." Someone says, "Here's how you do it." But what about in the world where these aren't so easy or where they're afraid to speak up? Privilege. Can you read this for me, Martha?
Privilege, when you think something isn't a problem because it doesn't affect you personally.
Thank you.
I think this has been one of my favorite Time for All Ages, Judith. Great job. We are a generous congregation. Each month, we donate 40% of our plate offering to a worthy organization. I am not sure who we are donating to today. Harbor House, thank you. So we will be donating to Harbor House of Central Florida. Our interlude offering song is There Is More Love Somewhere.
Just to clarify. Oh, let me turn you on. There you go. Just to clarify, we do have a changing table in the
I was wrong.
This is song number 95 in the Grace Songbook, if you would like to follow along.
I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more somewhere. There is more somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere. Take it, John. There's more joy. There is more joy somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more joy somewhere. There is more joy somewhere.
Are we singing, or?
Yes, but we don't have the words somewhere.
It's a work in progress.
Yeah, I don't know why this is hard for me, but apparently it is. We're going to sing the children out. It goes like this. Love you and bless you and send you on your way. We love you and bless you today and every day. And we can always do another verse. Thank you very much.
All right. I am pleased to cede the pulpit to the Reverend Tracie Barrett, who will be delivering a sermon titled, Building Beloved Community.
We Unitarian Universalists talk a lot about beloved community. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. spoke a lot about beloved community. And according to the King Center's website, they said, Dr. King's beloved community is a global vision in which all people can share in the wealth of the earth. In the beloved community, poverty, hunger, and homelessness will not be tolerated because international standards of human decency will not allow it. Racism and all forms of discrimination, bigotry, and prejudice will be replaced by an all-inclusive spirit of sisterhood and brotherhood. In beloved community, international disputes will be resolved by peaceful conflict resolution and reconciliation of adversaries instead of military power. Love and trust will triumph over fear and hatred. Peace with justice will prevail over war and military conflict. Now, this isn't just a lofty aspirational goal where we humans will all hold hands and sing Kumbaya together. This isn't just about reading and learning and becoming anti-racist. This isn't just about bringing diversity into our, let's be honest, very white denomination. No, the work of beloved community is more than just words and feelings and attitudes. Because beloved community doesn't just happen. We have to work for it. It requires justice, not just for any one group, but for people everywhere. That is what King was working towards. And that work is ours to do. It always has been, and it is needed now more than ever. Historically, we have a mixed record when it comes to building beloved community, especially around racism. We've done good work in fighting racism. We were part of the civil rights movement, and in the late 90s, we passed a resolution to officially become an anti-racist, anti-oppression, multicultural, or ARAOMC organization. And we've missed the mark multiple times. As I've preached about before, we voted against adding language to our bylaws after the merger to make our congregations integrated. We have failed to remain committed to our funding promises for marginalized groups within the UUA. Even the funding and support for the ARAOMC began to wane in the 2000s, barely 3 years after approving it. UUs also have a mixed record historically in other areas of racial justice. We had people on both sides of abolitionism, including people like Jefferson, who was a slaveholder. And Unitarians were proponents of eugenics, leading to some of the racial extremes of Nazism and apartheid in South Africa. Also, there were Unitarian residential schools here in the U.S. that has caused great damage to our indigenous neighbors. We don't always get it right. We have caused harm. And I don't think we have meant to. I hope that we have not meant to. But for those of us who identify as white, it is so easy to ignore these issues because they do not affect us. That's human nature. And as we saw, that's the definition of privilege. However, it is ignoring these issues that has caused systemic racism to continue to exist and to get worse. Jamar Tisby, in his book, The Color of Compromise, The Truth About the American Church's Complicity in Racism, he says, "We worry that we do not know enough yet, that our good intentions may have unintended negative consequences, or that the very people we seek to serve will rebuke us for our ignorance or missteps. I cannot say this will not happen. Standing for racial justice involves risk, but effective advocacy is a skill just like any other, and skills can be learned. Ultimately, though, you cannot read your way, listen your way, or watch your way into skillful advocacy. At some point, you must act. We Unitarian Universalists are really good about reading, listening, and watching about how to be anti-racist, anti-oppressive, and multicultural. But it's not enough. Our knowledge and our words are not enough. If we are to achieve beloved community, true beloved community, we must act. So what does that look like, you might be asking? It means showing up. It means speaking up. It means listening to people of color and helping in how they ask us to help, not coming in and trying to change it to fit our needs. It means acknowledging the white supremacy culture within our nation, our state, and even our denomination. We're not the only denomination reckoning with our inherent white supremacy culture. In his book, Tisby shares this: the Southern Baptist Convention, the SBC, the nation's largest Protestant denomination that had been founded to protect slaveholders within its ranks, finally apologized for its racist roots. They issued a resolution repenting of racism and slavery at their annual meeting on the 150th anniversary of their denomination, a statement which read in part, quote, "We lament and repudiate historic acts of evil such as slavery, from which we continue to reap a bitter harvest. And we recognize that the racism which yet plagues our culture today is inextricably tied to the past." Let that sink in. The Southern Baptist Convention publicly coming out to state that they recognize their racist roots, and then apologize for it. Now, I don't know about you, but that kind of blew me away when I read it. In fact, I'll admit I had to read it a few times to make sure I read it correctly. Which then, of course, led me to look at our own Unitarian Universalism. And that is what sparked today's sermon. We have not always gotten it right. We're human. We're messy. We make mistakes. The trick is whether or not we admit to them. We're really good about talking about what we've done right. We talk about how our ministers and lay people marched in Selma. We talk about how our ministers and lay people helped get women to safe abortion providers in the time before Roe v. Wade was law. And some of us are preparing to do that again. Just saying. We talk about how the UUA supports Black Lives of UU, or Blue, but we don't always talk about the missteps, the mistakes, the harm. Jamar Tisby reminds us, jumping ahead to the victories means skipping the hard but necessary work of examining what went wrong with race and the church. That can lead to simplistic understandings of the past and superficial solutions to racial issues in the present. Superficial solutions to racial issues in the present. And if you aren't already aware, I do hate being the one to tell you, we do not have a good track record when it comes to how we handle racial issues here in our denomination. I mentioned before about voting against requiring integration in our congregations. I've preached before about the Thomas Jefferson Ball that was held at one of our General Assemblies, even after many people voiced confusion and pain over why they would do that. I've preached before about the hiring situation in 2017 when it was brought to light that our hiring practices were not in line with what we said we stood for. I've preached before about how that person in the middle of that hiring event later received death threats at her own church. And I've preached before about how ministers of color have a harder time in their congregations due to micro and macro aggressions. It's daunting. It's heartbreaking. It's infuriating. So how do we fix it? We read, we study, we watch, we learn. Yes, all of that. And we have to do more. Ibram X. Kendi, who will be our WARE lecturer at General Assembly this year, said in his book, How to Be an Anti-Racist, If we don't do the basic work of defining the kind of people we want to be in language that is stable and consistent, we cannot work towards stable, consistent goals. We need language to be stable and consistent, to give us something to work for. Now, Unitarian Universalism is a non-creedal faith tradition, which means we do not dictate from upon high what you have to believe to be a UU. We do, however, agree to covenant together to affirm and promote 7 principles. These principles guide us, or should guide us, on how we are with each other and the wider world. And they're aspirational, very aspirational. They require work. For example, our first principle, that's a daily reminder for me that other people have inherent worth and dignity even when I don't like them or what they are doing. And that's hard. You may have already heard about the proposal for an additional principle, the 8th Principle Project. Now, Judith has done an amazing job of putting all the information out on the bulletin board in the hallway, and so I hope you'll take time to reference it. And I'm going to go over some of it today. But first, what's the 8th principle? Well, it starts like the other 7. We, the member congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association, covenant to affirm and promote. Translated, because it's a lot of words, means that by becoming a member of a Unitarian Universalist congregation, that is a member of the Association of Congregations, i.e. the UUA, we have made a promise with one another that we will affirm or agree to and promote, act out, the principles listed below that statement. And here is the text of the 8th principle that's being proposed. Journeying toward spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. Let me read that one more time. Journeying toward spiritual wholeness by working to build a diverse, multicultural, beloved community by our actions that accountably dismantle racism and other oppressions in ourselves and our institutions. Now, before you say anything, I have heard it all about this principle. It's wordy. This has already been stated in the other 7 principles. It doesn't flow with the other principles. We're already doing this. Why do we need to say it? Here's the thing. If we're already doing the work, why wouldn't we say it? Our principles are how we define to the world who we are. It's the first thing we all point to when we're trying to explain what it means to be a Unitarian Universalist. Here are our principles. This is who we are. This is what we do. It doesn't flow with the other principles. Well, guess what? The UUA bylaws state that we're supposed to review the principles every so often, which we haven't done in a while, and rewrite if necessary. That work is happening right now with the Article 2 Commission, which is where our principles reside in the bylaws. And who knows, maybe it will flow beautifully with the other 7 when they're done. Well, it's already stated in the other 7. It's implied in the other 7. I will give you that one. But according to the 8th Principle website, Paula Cole-Jones, Joseph Priestley District Director of Racial and Social Justice, developed the idea of the existence of 2 different paradigms in UU circles, the UU 7 principles and beloved community, which is deep multiculturalism. After working with congregations on these issues for over 15 years, she realized that a person can believe they're being a good UU and following the 7 principles without thinking about or dealing with systemic racism and other oppressions at the systemic level. For evidence that she gives, most UU congregations are primarily European American in membership, culture, especially music, and leadership, even when located near diverse communities. So yeah, it's alluded to in the other 7, but that's not enough. Again, from the website, the 8th principle came from a feeling that we need something to renew our commitment to this work, to hold ourselves accountable, and to fulfill the potential of the other existing principles. Now we come to the one I hear most often. It's too wordy. Friends, I want you to hear this with all the love I have for each and every one of you. Our siblings of color in our denomination has asked us to do this. This is the language they have chosen. It was written by a woman of color. To have our first response to be to wordsmith it to death without being asked to do so, as we have so often done in our history, especially as Unitarians, is a symptom of white supremacy culture. Now, before you mishear me, I'm not saying that all editing is white supremacy culture. My editors out there, that's not what I'm saying. I'm speaking about this very specific case of rewriting something a person of color has written to make it easier for white ears and minds, especially without being asked to do so. The eighth principle is an active principle. I honestly hope they rewrite all the other seven as active phrases, but that's my personal opinion. But this one is saying, please, finally, make it part of our bylaws. Please, make it state that this is who we are, that we are actively working to be anti-racist, not only in the world, but here in our faith tradition, and be held accountable for that. This is an opportunity to put our money and our actions where our mouths have said we have been. And it reminds me so much of 1963. Back then, we didn't have the courage to put our stance against racism in our bylaws. It was even said that while we all agreed to it, it just didn't need to be codified. But looking back through our own denomination history tells me that it did, and it does now. Our purpose of being here is to build beloved community. We work it out and get messy here in this covenanted space where we have promised to come back to the table and work it out when we mess up. We do that so that then we can go out and do it in the world. The Eighth Principle Project website reminds us the new Jim Crow, mass incarceration, and the criminal justice system replacing the older systems of slavery and Jim Crow laws, police violence against people of color, recent Supreme Court decisions on voting rights and affirmative action, and the election of Donald Trump with advisors and followers, including Attorney General Jeff Sessions, openly supporting white supremacists, show that the country is moving quickly and dangerously in the wrong direction. UUs need to take strong leadership to reverse these trends. Now is the time, my friends. Now is the time to take strong leadership and do the work of bending that arc toward justice. Now is the time to take the bold stance that Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. asked us to do when he spoke at our own General Assembly. Now is the time to rise up and say that racism is immoral and has no place in our faith tradition, our country, or our world. Will you join me to do this work of building a beloved community? Amen. May it be so, and blessed be.
Thank you. Please join me in extinguishing the chalice. Beloved community is formed not by the eradication of difference, but by its affirmation, by each of us claiming the identities and cultural legacies that shape who we are and how we live the world. Bell hooks. Our closing music today is We Are Building a New Way.
This is number 1017 in the Teal Songbook. Feel free to join along. And once again, please rise in your spirit as you comfort along. And this particular song, if you want to if you have a feeling to move your body a little. Fight that feeling.
No, you can dance.
Thank you so much for joining us today. You may go in peace, and for 10 minutes, and then we'll, and so we will be coming back for our annual meeting in 10 minutes, so take a little break, and I hope to see everyone back briefly.